the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Buckeye fans? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Buckeyes for the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast, and today's episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Visit rockauto.com and tell them Locked On sent you. It is Tuesday, July 20th in the year 2021. And no matter if you're listening to the audio version of the podcast or if you're watching us on YouTube or WKYC.com, I want to thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes a part of your day. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at JStevens07. You can also follow the podcast on Twitter as well at Locked On Buckeye. Lineup for today in segment 2. We begin a journey. We're going to take the rest of the week, today, Wednesday, Thursday, just dissecting each candidate that's in the quarterback competition. Segment 3, Ross Jackson will be back with us, host of Locked On Saints, continuing our Buckeye road trip around the NFL. We cannot leave the Bayou just yet. But first, Big Ten Media Days are this week. SEC Media Day started yesterday. Last week you had the Big 12 Media Days. I believe ACC and the Pac-12 will be starting very, very soon. So it's just talking season. And as myself, I will be actually attending my first Big Ten Media Days. So I'm very, very excited to go to Indianapolis to enjoy a couple days at Lucas Oil Stadium and to just hear the 14 Big Ten coaches and the 3 players representing each team talk this week. Another part of talking season is all of the preseason award list. Maxwell Award took Bednarik Award. I'm always going to butcher that one. The Heisman watch list. All of these awards, postseason awards of college football, there's going to be some watch list there. And there were 2 awards that Buckeyes were found on the watch list that was announced just yesterday. The Maxwell Award, which is a College Football Player of the Year award, different than the Heisman Trophy. Yeah, college football is different. They got a quarterback award. They have a running back award, the Doak Walker Award. They have an award for a punter, an award for a kicker, an award for everything. In this one here, the Maxwell Award, there were 2 individuals that were here that were put on the watch list or preseason. Keep your eyes on these 2 guys because they're going to kill this year. That's the easiest way for me to put it. The Maxwell Award watch list, 2 recipients there, Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. Like I mentioned, the Maxwell Award is an award for the College Football Player of the Year award. It is presented by the Maxwell Football Club. The award is named after Robert Tiny Maxwell, a Swarthmore College football player, coach, and sports writer. Johnny Latner and Tim Tebow. Latner in 52 and 53. Tebow in 07 and 08 are the only players to have won the award twice. It is the college equivalent of the Burt Bell Award of the National Football League, also given out by the Maxwell Club. The most recent recipient of said award is Devonta Smith. 2019, Joe Burrow. 2018, Tua Tagovailoa. 17, Baker Mayfield. 16, Lamar Jackson. And then 2015, Mr. Derrick Henry. The last time an Ohio State Buckeye won the award was in 1995 when Eddie George won the award. That is correct. Braxton Miller, not Braxton Miller. Troy Smith didn't win it. Zeke didn't win it. The last winner from Ohio State was Eddie George in the year 1995. Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson are both on this award. They are both individuals that are going to be turning heads this season with their play. I heard Phil Steele, the person that puts out maybe the most extensive and maybe most accurate preseason college football magazine, as you may want to say it. He has said in his own words, these 2 individuals are Ohio State with these 2 individuals have the best wide receiver group in the country. The Chuck Bednarik Award. There we go. Got it right in front of me as I'm not looking down on my paper, looking at my computer screen. The Chuck Bednarik Award is the award for the College Defensive Player of the Year. So you have the all-around Player of the Year for college football, the Maxwell, the Bednarik, the Defensive Player of the Year in college football, also presented by the Maxwell Football Club. This award is named after Ched Bednarik, probably no surprise, a former college and professional American football player. Two individuals that are on this watch list for Ohio State, Haskell Garrett and Zach Harrison. Ohio State to date has never had an individual win this. I misspoke. The only individual from Ohio State that has won this award is Chase Young. There has never been somebody that has won this award twice. The first time this award went into action and was voted and was given out was during the 1995. Yes, there have been people that won this award twice. 1995 was Pat Fitzgerald for Northwestern. He won it in 95-96. Paul Posluszny from Penn State won it in 05 and 06. Also, Penn State had a winner in 07, which Dan Connor. LSU had back-to-back winners in 2010, 2011, Patrick Peterson and Tyrann Mathieu. Alabama had back-to-back winners in 2016 and 2017, and Jonathan Allen and Minka Fitzpatrick. Olave Wilson, Maxwell Award, College Football Player of the Year Award. Chuck Bednarik Award, Haskell Garrett, Zach Harrison, watch list for College Football Defensive Player of the Year Award. To be honest with you, I don't know what we're going to get from Zach Harrison. But I've heard a lot of buzz from guys that have been doing this for quite a long time, thinking that Zach Harrison's trajectory is going to be on the up and up. This is going to be the best season that he has had. It's kind of been a TBD, to be determined for me as far as what we're going to get from Zach Harrison. I think we'll get better play. But will he be a Bosa? Will he be a Young? I don't think we're going to get that much. But I do expect to get more of a fierce pass rusher from him, and that rushman package with him, maybe a Tyreek Smith, maybe a JT Tuimoloau, maybe a Jack Sawyer. I don't know if they'll put two freshmen in that rushman package, but if they do, just imagine Tuimoloau on the inside, three technique, and Zach Harrison out there on the same side. That's going to be very, very tough. Oh, side note, don't know if I mentioned it. JT Tuimoloau probably going to walk on to the basketball team, at least try and walk on to the basketball team. Holtman and Day are fine with it. A two-sport athlete that's that good, that elusive, that athletic, Jay is here for that every single time. Let's step away very quickly. When we come back, we look at Jack Miller and dive into why he should not win the QB competition for this season. But first, check this out. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your sports action. Baseball season is in full swing, and you can track all the action at BetOnline. Get all the latest news, odds, and info for all your sporting needs, including MLB, NBA, NHL, and all your UFC/MMA action. Before the next pitch, head over to betonline.ag on your laptop or mobile device and check out all the great sporting news, sign-up bonuses, and even contest information. Don't sit on the sidelines anymore, as this is your chance to get into the game as teams prep for their runs to the playoffs. Head to betonline.ag on your laptop or mobile device to sign up today. And when you do, make sure you use that friendly promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, and it's all one word, and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, your online sports book experts. If this is your first time listening or watching Locked On Buckeyes, I want to say welcome. Or if it's your first time in a long time watching or listening to the podcast, Jay wants to say welcome back. Locked On Buckeyes is back to 5 days a week. That is correct. 5 days a week coming at you every single day, not just via the Odyssey app or Apple Podcast or Google Podcast or wherever you get your fine podcast, but also via youtube.com. Just search Locked On Buckeyes. You'll find the podcast. Subscribe. Looking to hopefully get to 100 subscribers by the beginning of Big Ten Media Days, which is on the morning of Thursday, July 22nd, just a couple days from now. Also, WKYC.com. You see WKYC Cleveland if you're watching us on YouTube or WKYC right now. So many ways to stay up to date with your Ohio State Buckeyes via the Locked On Buckeyes podcast. A competition. Started briefly talking about it last week, talked about it yesterday, And we are back here once again, baby, talking about this QB competition. First up, Jack Miller III. You go to the Ohio State website, they got him listed at 6'3", 215 pounds. He is a redshirt freshman from Scottsdale, Arizona. A few highlights from him while he was at Chaparral High School in Scottsdale. He was the nation's 14th ranked pro-style quarterback, according to 247 Sports, a four-star prospect by every major recruiting service. I believe that is a 247 composite ranking, which does compile puts everything, all the recruiting databases into a little funnel and spits out the formula at the end, the result. He was the MVP at the opening Los Angeles to earn a place at the Elite 11 finals. Max Preps All-American, All-State as a freshman in high school. Wow, that's amazing. Division 6A All-District, All-Region, All-State honoree, 3-year Ed Doherty Award recipient, and he was also the teammate in high school of Mr. Marvin Harrison Jr. I went back and looked at some of the spring game from Jack Miller. I know he has gotten better since then, but that was the most recent game film that we have on him to kind of dive into what kind of player do we have with Jack Miller. One, the pro-style quarterback is what Mr. Ryan Day is going to go after quite a bit. We have learned that. Justin Fields was a dual threat, but Justin Fields could still throw the rock and sling that thing. Yes, you still want a guy that's going to be mobile, but I don't know if Ryan Day is going to go so much of the Urban Meyer route where your guy is going to be ultra athletic. A lot of emphasis on the legs and being mobile and moving around, not as much emphasis on the arm. We're seeing now, especially a trend in college football, things are cyclical. Things are going somewhat back to the way they used to be with some philosophy of new age offenses right now. Ryan Day with Miller, with Stroud, with McCord, with Ewers. If he gets Arch Miller the following year, your boy gonna be excited. I'm just gonna tell you, your boy gonna be very, very excited if he ends up getting Arch Manning. I believe it's during the 2023 recruiting cycle is when Arch Manning will be coming into college, want to be finishing up his years down in Louisiana, where he's playing the football right now. Jack Miller III. One thing we noticed from the spring game, his ball placement at times was good, but the ball placement needed to improve. This is one thing that you say, Jay, what do you mean when you say ball placement? Why does it need to improve? Think about it. If you're watching, you see my hands, you see where my hands are. I'm trying to see. Yeah, there we go. I can see through my hands right now. You want to make your hands in somewhat of a diamond shape so that when the ball comes, it just fits right in like so. Now, granted, sometimes you catch the ball with your body. Sometimes you catch the ball with one hand. Sometimes you have to cradle that thing. I mean, sometimes you have to do so many different things and maneuver so many different areas to be able to get the ball, to catch the ball. And Jack Miller, he can make the throws. This is one thing I've noticed about all three of these quarterbacks. They can make the throws. If you're curious, say, can they make the throws? How is this deep ball? He can make it. Need to get a little bit more air on it. But if it's a consistent thing, they can make the throws. They need to improve on said throws. But they can make the throws, which is a good start. It's a good starting point. Ball placement at times was good. There were times when Jack Miller was first getting on the field, first few reps there during the spring game, there was a slight hitch when he was throwing the ball. A slight extra hitch before letting the ball go. And now, granted, you may say, Jay, he was trying to wait and elude a defender. Okay. To me, it seemed more like a hesitancy. Remember in basketball, you get a guy at the three-point line, or you get a guy with a wide open shot, or there's somebody there, maybe 5 feet away, but they're closing in. Instead of just rising up for the jump shot, oh boy, that has the ball, just hits it really quickly, pump fakes, and then he shoots the ball. And that slight hesitant motion or movement is what makes the shot miss instead of make. Because I firmly believe there are a lot of times athletes, basketball players, they do end up pump faking, and that slight pump fake messes them up, messes up their rhythm, and they miss the shot. Same thing with Jack Miller III. That slight hitch that he had, it was very, very slight, very, very minute. If you're not watching closely, you might not catch it, but there was a slight hitch on a few throws early. As the game progressed, that hitch went away, and he got a lot more confident and fluid in throwing the rock. One thing that he did do very well is something I noticed last year when he got on the field a few times, and even during some of his high school highlights that I watched as well. He's really good in the read option game. Not the fastest guy. Remember now, Ryan Day's not going for the guy. Now, it's great if he gets a guy that's 4'4". I'm not trying to say that he's not going to get the fastest guy. He puts an emphasis on the arm and the arm strength and the arm talent of the recruits and the quarterbacks that he brings to Ohio State. But in the read option game, a game that is very, very prevalent and important in today's college football, well, for a lot of the offenses that are out there, Jack Miller is phenomenal in the read option game, and he's not afraid to keep the ball. If the hole is there for him to keep the ball and not hand it off to the running back, Jack Miller III will ride that thing, read that D end, read the last guy on the line of scrimmage, and go. Just go right up the middle. Spring game, you couldn't really figure out how elusive he was and how will he be able to shake and break some tackles. You couldn't see that because it was very, very tight two-hand touch there during that game. So I don't know exactly how far he'll be able to run, but the read option thing was there. When it comes to the passing game, and I'm going to put an emphasis on the passing game because I think Ryan Day himself and I'm going to say Matt Barnes' defense, Corey Dennis will put an emphasis on the passing game of Ohio State. I firmly believe that the passing game will improve. Remember, he's a red shirt freshman, didn't get much playing time. Ain't nobody play last year, really, outside of Justin Fields. And in practice, Fields is getting all of the reps. Miller and Stroud going into the season, they didn't announce who the backup was going to be. It was kind of a 2A, 2B, even though it's kind of some people thought, it's going to be Miller. It's going to be Stroud. We saw Stroud came in late in the season when Fields got hurt in Clemson, and it was kind of got rumblings that Stroud was going to be the backup no matter what. Will it be Miller that'll be 1, 2, or 3? I don't know. But I think that Miller, his arm strength is there. His arm strength will improve. His ball placement will improve. His ability to get that hitch and get more confidence will improve. I'm not even going to really highlight the interception that he threw because that was a phenomenal defensive play by Ryan Watts. He was in the hip pocket of Garrett Wilson the entire time. That ball should not have been thrown. So I won't dissect that at all. But I do think there is the mentals. I think with Miller, he has the tools you want. I think it's more mentality. And at this level of college football, the way that Ryan Day recruits, one thing that separates the ones versus the twos, they come in, that both of them may have the same amount of talent. But if you don't have the mental capacity to take in what's being thrown at you, be a sponge, and to do exactly what's being asked of you on the field, you might be on the outside looking in. The mental capacity, the mentals of athletes is what separates guys from being 1, 2, or 3 on the depth chart, because all of these guys are talented, and Jack Miller III is. I really wonder how the mentals of Jack Miller will be and what Ryan Day and the quarterback coach will think about him being QB1 this year. One more timeout. When we come back, we will be joined by Mr. Ross Jackson, the host of Locked On Saints, as he comes back to continue our Buckeye road trip around the NFLs. We are still in New Orleans, Louisiana. But first, this episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning and wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand their warehouse happens to carry? You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. Why choose to spend 30%, 50%, even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or a car dealership? Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution to your auto part needs. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. And joining us once again here on Locked On Buckeyes, we're doing a Buckeye road trip around the NFL. It is my guy, Ross Jackson, the host of Locked On Saints. Ross, you notice this time I'm only going to mention one of your jobs right now because I tried to mention 2 last time and your boy butchered it. Ross Jackson, how you doing?
I'm great. I'm great. Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. You know, it's a locked on thing that runs true for both of us. So I'm always glad to be here with you, man. It's a pleasure to see you again.
I'm only laughing because we have so much fun together, always just chopping it up, having a good old time. We mentioned Michael Thomas, mentioned Nick Vannett last week, well, Friday and Monday. Mm-hmm. And then also right now going to the defense, a longtime member of the Saints, 6 years with the Saints, 2 different stints with the Saints. And I can tell every time we talk Saints football defense, you can't do anything but go right at Malcolm Jenkins and talk about how much you love that he's back in New Orleans.
Man, it is the one move that I've ever seen head coach Sean Payton sit in front of a press conference and say it was one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made as a head coach. Like the idea of letting Malcolm Jenkins walk after that 2013 season sit so ill with Sean Payton for so long, especially considering that he also made that move in order to make room for Jairus Byrd, who they paid a ton of money and then played a couple of games and just never really turned out to be the guy that they needed there and had a lot of injury issues, things like that, which of course are entirely out of his control. But man, the idea of getting Malcolm Jenkins back in New Orleans was such a big deal for New Orleans Saints fans and for the organization. And he had a great season in 2020 coming back.
What makes him so special?
His knowledge, honestly. He reminds me of Troy Polamalu. Like one of the things that made Troy Polamalu so special to watch is that it's like he knew what the offense was doing before they did it. And you saw glimpses of that back in New Orleans last year with Malcolm Jenkins in a 2020 season that had 3 weeks of training camp. No preseason, no opportunity to really work and get in rhythm with a deep. That was him jumping in like week 3. He had one of the best games I've seen him play going up against the Green Bay Packers. I mean, just phenomenal. And his ability to understand route combinations, concepts, offensive attacks, everything, and to be able to react and also translate it to the younger guys in the defense so that he can end up communicating, hey, this is what's coming. Let's be ready. It's a phenomenal trait that he has, his mind, and that's really what separates him from the rest of the field.
How do the coaches utilize the experience of Malcolm Jenkins to help the younger players kind of slow down, kind of help the curve and the adjustment to the National Football League?
Well, they first of all give him a lot of avenues to communicate with everybody. I mean, he's that guy. I talked to undrafted free agent Eric Burrell, who's joining the New Orleans Saints this year, coming out of Wisconsin from the Badgers. And one of the things he told me was that the first player that he hopes to talk to once he gets there is going to be Malcolm Jenkins. And they open up every one of those opportunities and make sure that Malcolm Jenkins has that respect. And Malcolm Jenkins will publicly also come out and talk a little bit about how not only do the younger guys come to him, but he goes to the younger guys and asks, hey, what did you see? What are you looking at? What did you notice? How did you recognize that? What tipped you off? And he learns from them so that he can also take all of that information and use that as a means of trying to communicate with them and say, okay, well, next time do this. But he also uses all of that to help better his game as well. And he is willing to learn from the younger guys, just like the younger guys are encouraged to learn from him. He's a true leader, big time true leader. And not only within the organization, but he's also a true leader within the community as well. And that's something that really helps him stand apart.
Ross, we mentioned this with Nick Vannett and talking about how the stat sheet, people may go to the stats to try to gauge what kind of production he may have there in New Orleans. Well, last year, as you mentioned, when only 3 weeks of training camp, which still baffles my mind, the kind of year that he had and some of the other players in the NFL had with very little preparation, a whole lot less than normal leading up into the season with your teammates, that I might add. He tied his career high for interceptions. Now, interceptions, that's just a portion of how successful you are on the field. There's a whole lot more that you bring to the table with that. But I'm curious, I know there may be somebody listening right now or watching us on YouTube that may be wondering if we will see a career high in interceptions with a 17th game this year.
I think it's very possible. I really do. I mean, I think that one of the things that, like we mentioned, that made Malcolm Jenkins so special last year was his ability to be able to kind of know what was coming. I think that's only going to get more a part of his everyday at this point. Now that he has time to settle into the defense, be a part of the full install, be able to help with walkthroughs, and get a full training camp as well as 3 preseason games or some portion of 3 preseason games under his belt as well. So I think that's only going to get better for him. And I think that you're going to see a lot of people have career highs this year, right? Having a 17th game is helpful, and it does make a difference. It's a difference between a 5,500-yard passing season for a quarterback and a potential 6,000-yard passing season for a quarterback. That could be the difference of one game, right? So I think that when you look at what it is that Malcolm Jenkins has the ability to do next year, I could see him doing that. I could see him. He also tied his career high in sacks last year with 2.5. I could see him breaking that because the Saints really love to send him and CJ Gardner-Johnson after quarterbacks. They like to have those guys threaten the A gap along with a couple of linebackers, as well as threaten the edge. And then I think you could also see him continue to be in the mix as a run defender. Only had a 7.1% missed tackle percentage last year. So I think you'll see that tackle number come up, and therefore also the tackle for a loss number continue to come up as well after having 7 last season.
6 seasons in Philadelphia, 6 seasons in New Orleans. This man's durable. I am amazed at the durability, and we were talking about this off air about how many games he doesn't miss. How many games he plays, how many games he does not miss. And that was the first thing I looked at. I was like, wait, he doesn't come off the field, not just when he's playing. If he's healthy, he's playing the game every single time. Durability, TFLs, we talk about that as well. How do you think that run defense works with the old man, I want to call him, not by age, but by NFL tenure? How does the old man still have the major impact behind the line of scrimmage?
I think that one of the things is his usage in this defense. This defense continues, and just like they did actually in Philadelphia toward the end of his stint there in Philly, they used him close to the line of scrimmage. Like, they trust him to play in the box. They use him essentially as a nickel linebacker in a way, and along with CJ Gardner-Johnson, who's their true nickel, I guess you could say, or let's call him a nickel safety. So I think that they creep him down toward the line of scrimmage a lot. They'll even bring in PJ Williams to work with Marcus Williams and put them back as 2 deep safeties in cover 2, or at least middle of the field open looks where they need equal amount of safeties out there. And then they'll work Malcolm Jenkins to where he can get into the mix. And as our good friend Brandon Olson would say, get mixy in the slot every now and then if he needs to, as well as do some work, in the middle of the field and defending the run. So they put him in a position to do it because he's incredibly efficient at it, and you can tell that he loves to do it as well.
Ross, anything else you want to hit very quickly about Malcolm Jenkins going into this 2021 season?
I just want to highlight what you mentioned about his durability. Mm-hmm. Played in the Week 11 game through the Week 17 games in the 2013 season, and then hasn't missed a single game since then. 2014 through 2020. Not a single game that he's missed. That's something that's really important to the New Orleans Saints, is availability and durability. And the Saints have always really, really worked very hard to maintain as much cohesion and continuity as possible, coming into Malcolm Jenkins' second season with a secondary that's mostly still intact. Yes, they lost Janoris Jenkins. They'll need to figure out what they're going to do at the cornerback position opposite Marshawn Lattimore. But having a talent and a leader and I guess you could say, elder statesman like Malcolm Jenkins could be all the difference in terms of that secondary still remaining competitive, remaining cohesive, and communicative going into 2021, even with a change at the cornerback 2 position.
Ross, my man, 3 down, 1 more to go. I appreciate you coming back on Locked on Buckeyes to help us continue this road trip. But we're just stuck down to the bayou, and we just can't leave yet. Thanks so much for coming back on, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, brother. Always a pleasure. While we're here, we'll grab some beignets. Don't worry about it. It's not too bad.